Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Radha Kunja Vihari. Jai Radha Kunja Jaya Jaya Shri Jaya Shri Gokulam Ki Shri Ram Hanuman Ki Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita especially our Grace Vishaka Prabhu for being so gracious. I want to thank our dear Shilin Prabhu for coordinating the visit. And thank all of you for your valuable time and your kind attention. My name is Madana-gopāla. I live in New Jersey in the US. I'm just visiting here to try to get as much association as I can from all of you. So today we enter a very subtle and beautiful section of Chaitanya Charitamrita. On the surface, these verses seem simple. The devotee invites the Lord. The Lord stays in Varanasi. Some Brahmins invite him and he politely declines. That's the whole story. But for progressive devotees, for advanced devotees, these verses are not merely a historical record. They reveal the inner architecture of Gaudiya Vaishnava life. Affection, sense of dependence, hospitality, discernment, association, like how you choose your association, siddhanta, leadership, all these are there in these verses. You just have to draw them out. So, we know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna, the supreme independent Lord. No one can force him. No one can bind him. No one can control him. And yet, the astonishing truth of bhakti is this, that the unconquerable Lord becomes conquered by the love of his devotees. So here, Mahaprabhu had no plan to remain in Varanasi. But we see Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar. They didn't merely request him. They offered their hearts. They created a space of such devotion and dependence that the Lord became obliged. This is the mystery of bhakti. The Lord is not controlled by power or position, scholarship, austerity, social influence. He is controlled by loving service. So the title of our discussion is Sacred Boundaries, Loving Dependence. Because in these 5 verses we see 2 things together. The Lord becomes lovingly bound by his devotees. And the Lord carefully avoids association that may dilute his pure bhakti. He's giving the lesson here. There is a balance we need as progressive devotees and leaders. Hearts soft enough to host the Lord, and discernment, discrimination, sharp enough to protect our devotion. So this chapter is Madhya chapter 17, the Lord travels to Vrindavan. It is one of the most astonishing chapters in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita because it contains the famous Jharkhand forest pastime system. Mahaprabhu passes to the forest, chanting the holy names, and his kirtan awakens devotion not just in human beings, but in wild animals. Not even like domestic animals. Tigers, and deer, and elephants, and birds. Oh my. And other creatures become spiritually transformed. Natural enemies are embracing each other. The impossible becomes possible. The forest of Jharkhand becomes the forest of Vrindavan. This is not sentimental mythology. It is a theological declaration. When pure Nam descends through the pure devotee, even the most conditioned instincts can be overturned. Violence becomes affection. Fear becomes kirtan. The jungle becomes a temple. Then the scene shifts. From the wild forest, Mahaprabhu enters Varanasi, a city overflowing with sacred prestige. Sanskrit learning and sannyasis and big scholars and renunciation, scriptural study, Vedanta discussion. It's an epicenter. But there is a paradox. In the forest, animals dance in bhakti. And in Varanasi, scholars are covered by impersonalism. They don't dance. Animals are better. So the chapter moves from an external jungle to an internal jungle. The animals become softened by Nam. But the learned may remain hardened by a sense of pride and misconception. This is why these verses are so profound. Mahaprabhu has just shown the unlimited reach of mercy. Yet when he enters Varanasi, he also shows the necessity of discrimination, discernment. Mercy does not mean carelessness. No one's more merciful than Mahaprabhu, and yet he also decides who's going to have lunch with. We have to be careful. Compassion does not mean indiscriminate intimacy. Preaching does not mean spiritual vulnerability. These are the lessons. There's so many lessons. So we'll read the verse. Maybe we can all just sing it together. Is that okay? Just get the tune and let's sing it. Okay? Nishaka he Prabhu yavat kashi tera hi ba morani mantrana vina anyana mani ba. Tapan Mishra then said, "My dear Lord, as long as you stay at Varanasi, please do not accept any invitation other than mine." Sing together. E Matta Mahaprabhu Dui Prityera Bashe Ichha Nahi Tabu Tata Rahila Dinadashe. Even though he had not made such a plan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for 10 days at Varanasi, being obligated by the requests of his two servants. Maharashtriya Vipra Aise Prabhu Dekhi Bare Prabhu Rupa Prema Dekhi Haya Chamaskare. At Varanasi, there was a Maharashtrian Brahman who used to come daily to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This Brahman was simply astonished to see the Lord's personal beauty and ecstatic love for Krishna. Viprastava nimantraya Prabhu nahi mane Prabhu kahe aji mora hayache nimantrane. When the Brahmanas of Varanasi would invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to lunch, the Lord would not accept their invitations. He would reply, "I've already been invited somewhere else." The last verse. E mata pratidina karena vanchana sanyasira sangabhai namanena nimantrana. Every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused their invitations because he feared associating with Mayavadi sannyasis. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. A Vaishnava sannyasi never accepts an invitation from a party who considers Mayavadi sannyasis and Vaishnava sannyasis to be one and the same. In other words, Vaishnava sannyasis do not at all like to associate with Mayavadi sannyasis, to say nothing of eating with them. This principle must be followed by the sannyasis of the Krishna consciousness movement. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given by his personal behavior. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshuntam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. I offer my humble obeisances to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who kindly opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. I further offer my obeisances to all of you assembled Vaishnavas and seek your kind blessings, that I may read Srimad Bhagavatam with you and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we are on slide number 4. Tapan Mishra says to the Lord, as long as you stay in Varanasi, please do not accept any invitation other than mine. So don't accept any invitation other than mine. This is a very intimate request. Externally, it sounds like hospitality. Internally, it is loving possessiveness. You know how it is, right? When someone says, you visit someone and say, don't go anywhere else, stay with me, only at my house. Tapan Krishna is not thinking, let me become famous as the person who hosted Mahaprabhu. That's not what he's thinking. He's not trying to control the Lord for prestige. His request comes from affection, from service, and anxiety. Anxiety, yes. What is anxiety? My Lord, please let me serve you. Please allow my home, my kitchen, my life to be used for your pleasure. Then the next verse says something quite extraordinary. Now, although Mahaprabhu had not planned to stay, he remained for 10 days. Yes, look at the mode, right? Asking the Lord. He remained for 10 days because he was obligated by the requests of his 2 servants, Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar. The word obligated is very important. That's the word used. The Supreme Lord becomes indebted to his devotees' love. Even Krishna, he tells the gopis, I cannot pay you back. In other worldly life, like in regular worldly life, right? Obligation often feels heavy. So when you're doing dishes for yourself, it feels but when you're washing dishes for the Lord, it's like a whole different experience. Same thing. Obligation in spiritual life is not. Well, in bhakti, it's divine obligation. It's the sweetness of love. Like Krishna becomes bound by Mother Yashoda. Krishna becomes the messenger of the Pandavas. Krishna becomes the chariot driver of Arjuna. Here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, same Krishna, is bound by Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar. So progressive devotees should meditate on this deeply. The Lord may not be bound or obliged by external position, but he may become obliged by my sincerity. Yes. We should have the hope that one day I'll be sincere enough that the Lord will be obliged. How can we do that? A temple, a home, a sadhaka's heart, all can become places where the Lord chooses to remain. We just have to keep telling God a few more days until he just doesn't leave. A few more days. This slide gives us one of the major principles of the class. Hospitality becomes theology. A plate of prasadam is not just food. We don't use the word food, we just say prasadam. A room offered for the Lord is not just space. And a request from a devotee is not just social etiquette. When offered with bhakti, ordinary gestures become spiritual theology in action. The Parmeshwara's home becomes a place where Mahaprabhu stays. That means the home is no longer just domestic space. It becomes sanctified space. It becomes an extension of bhakti. For progressive devotees, this is very important. We sometimes think theology is only in lectures and books or in debates. But Chaitanya Charitamrita repeated, that's why it's so advanced, because it reminds you of something.
Here's some info about debate.
Oops. That, what does Chaitanya Charitamrita tell us? That theology is embedded in behavior. Our behavior is our theology. You can't have one theology and different behavior. You have to sync them. How do we receive devotees? How do we feed Vaishnavas? How do we create spaces where people feel spiritually safe? How do we host the Lord in our home, our temple, our hearts? Hospitality. Hospitality means my life is not for my comfort alone. My resources are meant to give shelter to Krishna and his devotees. In leadership, to those of us who are in leadership, this becomes even more important. People may not when they first come, they don't experience our Siddhanta through philosophical argument. They experience Siddhanta through how they are received. How we smile when we see them. Practice. You don't feel like. Eventually it looks natural, it might look cheesy. Warmth is not a side issue. Gaudiya Vaishnavism is so deep, and warmth is a part of Siddhanta, because Krishna is a person, and Bhakti is relational. It's relationship based. So the question is this: do our homes, our temples, our communities, our circles, do they make the Lord want to stay? That's what this lesson is about. Let me go to the next slide. This verse 101 introduces a Maharashtrian Brahmin. Keep looking at the slide, it'll get clearer. He would come daily to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was astonished by two things: the Lord's personal beauty and his ecstatic love for Krishna. This is a powerful combination. Rupa and Bhava. Personal beauty and the Bhava. Divine form and divine emotion completely saturated the space. In Maharashtra, the Brahmana is like, whoa, what's this? The Brahmana does not begin with the complete philosophical understanding. He does not yet know all the ontological conclusions of Chaitanya Tattva. But he sees something undeniable. He sees beauty that is not material beauty. He sees emotion that is not ordinary emotion. He sees a person whose very presence reveals Krishna Prema. Right? From him, Prema emanates. Emanates. We say that every morning. This teaches us something very important for preaching and for leadership. Before people understand our philosophy, they often encounter our presence. See? Mahaprabhu didn't say anything to this Brahmin. They encounter our mood. They encounter whether Krishna consciousness has made us beautiful in character, softened in heart. and deep in spiritual feelings. That's why it's a great responsibility to put on tilak. If someone judges this, oh, what kind of devotee are you? You know, have you heard of that? You're doing it for 3 years and you still I'm so irritated when I come in front of you. What kind of devotee are you? You know, we're judged by that. We have to change. Because now we represent Krishna. Progressive devotee should ask, is my bhakti visible in my being? Not in a performative way, but in a transformative way. Have I transformed? It's different. The Maharashtrian Brahmana becomes attractive because Mahaprabhu's beauty, his body and heart are both radiating Krishna. His beauty is not separate from his bhav. This is again a critique of dry religion. One may have the correct vocabulary, correct dress, correct institutional identity, and yet not radiate any bhakti. It's possible. Mahaprabhu reveals that the highest preaching is not merely what we say, but what we have become. Not even what we do. Well, what we do is important, but we have to become devotees. See? So Varanasi is one of the holiest cities in India. It's associated with renunciation, with scripture, sacred bathing, liberation, learning. Anybody here been to Varanasi? Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. All the scholars walking around. And of course, learning. It is filled with brahmanas and sannyasis and Vedanta scholars. Yet in this section, Varanasi also represents a danger. What is the danger? Scholarship without devotion. Mayavadi sannyasis were not ordinary materialists. They were renounced, serious sannyasis. They were super strict. They were renounced, they were learned, they were disciplined, they were socially respected. But their conclusions were deeply opposed to personal devotional service to Krishna. Opposed. This is sobering for us. This is sobering. Spiritual danger does not always come dressed as obvious irreligion. Sometimes it comes dressed as sophistication, renunciation, intellectualism, or prestige. This is why Mahaprabhu is so careful. He doesn't reject learning. That's not what he's saying. He doesn't reject renunciation. He's a strict sannyasi. He does not reject Varanasi. But he avoids the association that may blur the personal nature of the absolute truth and weaken our bhakti. Mayavadi philosophy is like throwing acid on the face of our bhakti. It is really damaging and very hard to recover. Mahaprabhu said, Mayavadi bhasha shunile hoibe sharbanash. You'll be destroyed completely. Whoa, that's heavy. For progressive devotees, this is crucial. The question is not simply, is this person intelligent? Is this group spiritual? Is this environment impressive? The question is this: does the association here deepen my surrender to Krishna? Does it make me question it? Does it increase my taste for the holy name? Does it strengthen service to Guru Gauranga? Does it make Krishna more personal, more central, more lovable? If not, then even sacred looking association can become spiritually hazardous. Let me go to the next verse, verse 102. Says that when the Brahmana of Varanasi invited Mahaprabhu to lunch, he did not accept. What would he say? I have already been invited somewhere else. I have prior commitments. This is a master class in boundaries. Mahaprabhu does not insult them. He doesn't say, you guys are all jerks. I never want to see your face again. No. He doesn't say that. He does not create unnecessary conflict. Something for us to learn. Try not to create conflicts unnecessarily. He does not lecture everyone in public. He simply refuses gracefully. This is very relevant behavior for progressive devotees. There's devotees, and then there's progressive devotees, it's all of you. Progressive devotees, and especially for leaders. Sometimes we think that every boundary requires a dramatic explanation. Mahaprabhu doesn't do that, doesn't get into it, right? You don't have to explain every little gesture. Sometimes we feel that if we don't explain everything, people will misunderstand us. But Mahaprabhu shows that dharma can sometimes be protected quietly. A mature devotee does not need to be harsh in order to be firm. A mature devotee does not need to be agreeable in order to be compassionate. This is a delicate art. Many devotees struggle between the two extremes. What are the two extremes? One extreme is avoidance of all discomfort. So we say yes to everything. Jai Shri Madana-gopāla ki jai, Siddhamacharya ki jai, Gaurita ki jai. So one extreme is avoidance of all discomfort, so we say yes to everything. And then later we become resentful or compromised. The other extreme is harshness, where we make every boundary into a battle. And we just fall in love with being argumentative and just make everything into a fight. Two extremes. Completely averse to any kind of conflict. Completely. They say yes to everything. And they're I double booked everything. My whole day double booked. Now what do I do? And the other one is, no, why are you talking to me? Two extremes. Everything is a battle. My diary is always free. Mahaprabhu shows a third way, gentle firmness. That's what we learn here. I've already been invited somewhere else, thank you. The words are simple, but the principle is profound. This is why Chaitanya Charitamrita is deceivingly simple. Why do you think it's called PhD? Yeah, it's so simple. He just said, no, something about it. What's the big deal? So much to learn here. Not every door should be opened. Not every invitation should be accepted. And not every association should be normalized. Next verse. Verse 103 in Prabhupada's purport. Bring the theological center of this section. Mahaprabhu refused invitation. Why did he refuse invitation? Because he feared what? He feared association with who? Mayavadis. He feared association with the Mayavadi sannyasis. The word feared must be understood properly. Mahaprabhu can be fearful of anything. The Supreme Lord is not afraid in the ordinary sense. Rather, he's teaching by example. He's showing how seriously a Vaishnava should regard association. Srila Prabhupada states very strongly that a Vaishnava sannyasi does not accept invitations from those who consider Mayavadi sannyasis and Vaishnava sannyasis to be the same. And sannyasis, what a big deal. We're all brothers here. Why does he say we should mix? Because such mixing blurs Siddhanta. It gives the impression that personalism and impersonalism are simply two equal paths. We are not the same. We're two equivalent spiritual styles. Now we have Shikha, they have no Shikha. What's the big deal? It's a small hairstyle different. No, it's different. Not just hairstyle different. For Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the distinction is not cosmetic. It is foundational. Krishna is not ultimately formless. Bhakti is not a lower step. The devotee does not merge into the Lord. The eternal relationship between Jiva and Krishna is real, distinct, individual, eternally. At the same time, we must not turn this principle into arrogance in our behavior, or hatred, or sectarian contempt. Mahaprabhu later delivers these same Mayavadi sannyasis. He shows them extraordinary mercy. But he does not casually mix with them on their terms. See the difference? That's the key distinction. Mercy, outward, intimacy, protected and guarded. We can respect all. We should. We can be kind to all. We should be. We can preach to all, but we should be very careful about whom we allow to shape our inner life. This slide brings out this advanced distinction. A neophyte devotee may think, if I respect everyone, I must associate intimately with everyone. I show respect. Open my heart to everybody. Get all the ideas from everywhere, wherever they're flowing, let them influence me. No. But sadhus and shastra, they teach a more nuanced principle. Respect should be broad, universal respect. Trust should be selective. Intimacy should be earned through shared surrender to Krishna. You don't want to intimately open up your feelings in your heart to someone who is not aspiring for genuine surrender to Krishna. It's not elitism that look at me, so no. It is spiritual ecology. What do I mean ecology? If you place a delicate plant in the wrong climate, it will not survive. Our Bhakti Lata Beach, which is the seed, and then the Lata is a creeper. The creeper of devotion requires protection. Creeper is not a tree. Creeper is soft, delicate. Requires protection from all sides. It needs watering by Shravana and Kirtana. But it also needs a fence from offense. Build a fence. Protect you from offenses. Protect you from misconceptions and harmful association. So progressive devotees must learn to ask, what association nourishes my faith? What association agitates my mind? What association makes me critical, dry, proud, or distracted? What association increases namaruchi, taste for the holy name? Seva bhav, the spirit of devotional service, serving others. What association increases my humility and sense of dependence on the Lord? Mahaprabhu is universal in his compassion, but he's precise in his association. See the difference? He floods the world, but he doesn't take everything and washes back in. Right? This is a very high standard. In modern leadership, this becomes especially important because we often function in pluralistic, interfaith, academic, professional, and institutional settings. I'm in communications in the US, and we visit these Hindu conferences, and I meet with all kinds of Mayavadis. We sit together, talk with friends and all. I know them by name. We meet year after year. We discuss what's working, their temple, what's not. You can't help it. We may cooperate with many people. We may speak respectfully with many people, of course. But our spiritual nourishment must come from those who strengthen our bhakti, our siddhanta, and our service mood. Strengthen those three things. The heart must be open, but the inner altar must be protected. You see how we have this wrought iron gates? It's so beautiful. But they're meant to keep people out, the wrong kind of people. We need this wrought iron gate in our heart. And only opening when the progressive devotees are here. In the middle of the night, when the burglars come, they have to be locked. That's our heart. The inner altar must be protected. This slide applies the verses to leadership. And we are leaders to some degree. Temples and communities need both warmth and boundaries. Leaders have to have boundaries, but also have to have warmth. Cannot have leadership without warmth. If we have boundaries without warmth, the community becomes cold, rigid, fear-based. If you have warmth without boundaries, the community becomes diluted, confused, and spiritually vulnerable. We need both. Mahaprabhu shows both. The lessons for all of us to learn. This is how we treat Chaitanya Charitamrita. Every verse has so much. He accepts loving hospitality from Tapan Mishra, Chandrasekhar. See how beautifully he's being requested? He accepts it. That is warmth. But he refuses invitations connected with the Mayavadi association. That is boundary. So a healthy Vaishnava culture must know how to do both and know where to put the boundary and where to apply warmth. If we apply warmth in the wrong place and boundary in the wrong place, we'll again create damage. We must create environments as leaders where devotees feel welcomed, nourished, seen, and cared for. But we must also clearly protect siddhanta, standards, sadhana, and the purpose of the movement. That's why Prabhupada wrote 7 purposes. We should know what they are, so we don't go somewhere else. Sometimes leaders fail because they are too harsh. People do not feel loved. Our people need to feel heard, seen, loved. Sometimes leaders fail because they are too vague. People do not know what we stand for anymore. That's important too. Mahaprabhu's example teaches mature leadership, deeply affectionate and deeply principled. So in practical terms, this means what? Feed the people, hear them, receive them, encourage them, give them shelter. But also clearly teach what is favorable, what is unfavorable for their bhakti. The goal is not to win ideological battles. The goal is to create a culture where Krishna wants to remain. So I'm going to ask you, all of you, three questions for all of you mature devotees. Let us not leave this as only a historical discussion. Mahaprabhu's Varanasi's pastimes, right? They're asking something from us. They're asking us to examine our own homes, our temples of relationship, and leadership mood. So these questions, these are for you. First, where do I need warmer hospitality? This may mean with guests, with new devotees, family members, struggling devotees, younger devotees, or even senior devotees who quietly need care. Everybody needs care. Sometimes we are philosophically astute, correct, but emotionally unavailable. Tapan Mishra teaches us that love makes space. Second, where do I need clearer boundaries? This may be certain conversations, media, relationships, ideological influences, institutional patterns, or even internal habits. Mahaprabhu teaches us that protecting bhakti is not narrow-mindedness, it is devotion. And third, what association most increases my taste for the holy name, Nam? That is the deepest question. Not who flatters me, not who entertains me. Oh yeah, it's so much fun. Every time you say something, I'm just rolling on the floor laughing. You know, not who agrees with me politically or socially, but who wants to make me chant better. I mean, this person really cares for me to chant better. That's the person I want to hang out with. Who makes me want to serve Guru and Krishna more purely? That's the person I want in my life. Who makes Krishna feel more real because he's very real in their life? So this is what I want to invite you to all reflect on. These are 3 questions that we can glean from these verses. So let us close by returning to the image of these verses. The Lord of the universe enters Varanasi. He's just made wild animals dance in Jharkhand forest. Tigers and deer have forgotten their enmity. The forest has become a kirtan hall. The impossible has become natural in the presence of the pure name. Then he comes to a city of learning and prestige and so on. And there the Lord does something quieter but equally profound. He allows himself to be held by the affection of his devotees. And he refuses association that would blur the truth of bhakti. That is our meditation. May our homes be like Tapan Mishra's home, places where the Lord feels invited. May our hearts be like Chandrasekhar's heart, simple, loyal, eager to serve. And may our eyes be like the Maharashtrian Brahmana's eyes, able to recognize the divine beauty and the ecstatic love when they appear before us. May our intelligence be like Mahaprabhu's example, compassionate to all, but never careless with bhakti. The world needs devotees with large hearts. But large-heartedness does not mean spiritual vagueness. The world needs devotees who can embrace and feed, and encourage, and uplift. But the world also needs devotees who know what must be protected. Let this be a prayer. O Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Please make our lives places where you want to stay. Let our affection bind you. Let our service please you. Let our discernment honor you. Let our communities be warm enough to heal the brokenhearted and pure enough to protect the holy name. May we carry your mercy outward to everyone. And may we be guarded inwardly, guarding the treasure of pure devotion. Let the forest dance. Let Varanasi awaken. Let our hearts become fit places for Gauranga to remain. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. So thank you all very much for your kind attention and your valuable time. I don't know if you have time for comments and questions, but I appreciate this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask Prabhu? It's almost at 9 o'clock, so we have time for any questions.
That wasn't too long, right? That's okay. There's one over here.
Hare Krishna. One of the slides, I can't remember what particularly it said. Could you go back?
Sure.
It was the 3 questions.
Sure. This is the previous one, yeah.
What do you mean by where do I need warm hospitality? What do you mean by the word where?